Hello and welcome to another edition of Creighton Station. Today is Monday, August 17th, and we're here today with
The Opalesque.
the Opalesque talking Greek mythology. And you have three stories you want to tell us, and if there's time, we'll try to squeeze in some more. But what's the three stories you want to tell us today?
So I can tell to you the story of the Lady in the Woods. I can tell to you the story of Persephone and how she became the queen of the underworld. And I can tell to you, let's see, I can start with the origin of the Olympians and the creation story. I'll do my best to condense it since, I want to be good on time with that.
Let's start off with the Persephone story.
Indeed.
Since that's the one a lot of people is a general, a lot of people know that one. We'll go down to the line and probably go with the Lady in the Woods ones after that, and after that one we can do the creation one.
Yes. All right. Indeed. Indeed. Or I can instead of that one because that's a pretty lengthy story. If we have time, we can do that one last.
Yeah.
But I can
Oh,
tell you
the story Medusa,
yes,
her creation.
yes, yeah,
That's the ones we talked about in our pre-interview yesterday.
yes, indeed.
Um, by the way, if we were interested in more about what the Opalesque has to say, he's probably going to be a recurring guest on here talking about different things. Me and him have already talked about doing an analysis video or an analysis of Kyle's story about her shadow people. He's very knowledgeable about many things spiritual, Greek mythology, you name it. He's pretty much the expert we have on anything spiritual, mythological, or anything beyond, supernatural.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Also, he's works for Cushy, which is a local what would you say, store company,
Health and wellness.
health and wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have three stores right now. They have
Yes.
Cushy Life,
Yes.
Cushy World,
Yes.
and the new location in Buford.
Yes. Okay. So it's called just Cushy.
Yeah.
But we call it Cushy Health because
Okay.
that's what the email address is. So Cushy
Okay.
Health
Yeah.
in Buford, right beside the sports bar.
And I do plan on interviewing the owner of Cushy, Jill, later
Manager.
on. Manager, not owner.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
In a couple of later episode from now. But that's just giving a little bit of background, do a little bit of viral marketing for Cushy because they're pretty chill over there and they have some good products.
Hell yeah.
But anyways, onwards to the Greek mythology.
Yes.
So we'll start off with the Persephone story.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So this story happened a long time ago, about a week ago. I'm just kidding. This story happened thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Not that many thousands, but you know. So, according to Greek myth, there was the goddess Persephone, but at this time, her name was actually Kore, or Kore. So Core or Kore, depending on who tells the story. She was the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. Zeus being the king of the gods, god of the sky, lightning, etc., etc., and Demeter, the goddess of the harvest.
So she was a full-blooded god.
Yes, yes. So one day she was just picking flowers in the meadow and whatnot, and she caught the attention of Lord of the Underworld, Hades. Now, some renditions of the story say that she was kidnapped. Others tend to romanticize it and say that she wandered into the underworld somehow and she was just enchanted and just so curious about what the underworld was because she's pretty much a fertility goddess. At the time, her name is Kor. We're going to call her that for right now. She was the goddess of springtime. She was responsible for making the flowers bloom, etc., etc. So she went on down to the underworld, and she was just like, "Well, damn, this shit right here is just popping off and shit." You know what I'm saying?
What? No, go ahead. I was just gonna ask. I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, which rendition do you believe in? Like, as far as like how she made it into Underworld, do you believe he kidnapped her, or do you believe that she just wandered in there,
Well,
or do you believe she fell in love?
well, see, that's a good question right there because with a lot of Greek myths, there's two versions of the story because a lot of times in Greek myth, most of the time in Greek myths, like women aren't treated very well. Like, um, women don't have a good time in Greek myths unless you're Artemis or Athena, um, and any other goddess or mortal, and sometimes Aphrodite, but any other goddess or mortal, they're either it's women versus women or man versus woman, and the woman also gets a short end of the stick. So I want to believe that she wandered into the underworld and fell in love. I want to, but
You
pretty
leaned
much
more towards like
I,
Hades kidnapping her.
I mean, yeah, going by like the what the recurring theme in Greek myths is, she was most likely kidnapped.
Hmm.
Um,
By the way, like a lot of the myths that I've seen for Zeus and stuff is pretty much she just wanted to like fuck
yeah,
everybody.
99% of Greek myths happen because Zeus couldn't keep it in his pants. Honestly, like, yeah, he's a mess. He's a whole ass mess. Um, so pretty much like, she wandered into the underworld. She was just like, damn, this shit popping down here and everything. She had never seen anything like this. Everything in the underworld is dead. Nothing can grow in the underworld because it's the place where the dead go. you know so she just walks on down there and shit, and then she comes across the gateway, which is guarded by the three-headed dog Cerberus. Now, Cerberus is one of my favorite Greek mythological characters because, for one thing, his name means spot. You would think the big old three-headed dog, he would have like some, meaning behind its name that would, complement his being, but nah, his name is Spot.
I like Spot. That's a nice name
Yeah,
for a
it's
dog.
a pretty cute name.
So Cerberus is a he then.
Yes,
Okay.
Cerberus is a he, and like the original Greek myths, he is depicted as like gargantuan in size, and sometimes even having 1,000 heads, 1,000 or 100 heads,
Mm.
and the tail of a dragon, and also the tongue of a dragon as well. But simplified, and over time, he's only depicted with having as a dog with 3 heads, a black dog with 3 heads, but still very large in size. Um, of course, he would guard the entrance to the underworld, and um, if there's a certain order that goes on about in the underworld. So if the souls of the undead get unruly, he would eat them.
Damn.
Yeah. So he was always well fed. So you ain't got to worry about malnutrition with him, and also because he's not really alive anyway. So she was waltzing along and everything. She comes across Cerberus, right? And at the time, Persephone was only in her teens. She was a very young goddess at the time.
Young and impressionable too.
Yeah, yeah. So just envisioning that, just a young little girl coming across a three-headed monster dog, you would think that, oh shit, she'd freak the fuck out, but nah, she was like, oh damn, that's a weird ass bird. You know what I'm saying? So she walked up to Cerberus, and Cerberus was kind of apprehensive at first, growling and shit like that. But Persephone, being the goddess of spring, the goddess of fertility, she has a charm about her. So she was able to tame Cerberus. That's a feat that pretty much no one except for Hades was able to do. I mean, Hercules like captured Cerberus, but he fought for a long ass time. I mean, even though Hercules was the strongest human in existence according to Greek myth, going up against a gargantuan three-headed dog is gonna be some shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So she walked up there, befriended Cerberus and everything, and after doing so, she came across the goddess Hecate. Hecate is one of my favorite Greek goddesses because, as you mentioned before in my introduction, I'm also very spiritual. And in my spiritual practice, I've worked, not a lot, but I've worked with the spirit of the goddess Hecate. She's a very interesting character. I can get into it, but just for the sake of time, Hecate is the goddess of witches. She's the goddess of phantoms and spirits and stuff like that. But she is also the goddess of maidens and uh, what's that word? Childbirth as well. So since Persephone is pretty much a maiden and a child essentially, Hecate was like, come here, baby, you want some cornbread? You know what I'm saying? Et cetera. So, Hecate took care of Persephone. Hecate, she's a very, very nurturing energy. She can be. She also has her other side where she fucks some shit up. You know what I'm saying? Um, Hecate eventually led her to the palace of Hades because, nothing goes on in the underworld that Hades doesn't know about. So he's been had his eye on her, the moment she walked through the threshold to the underworld. So she walks in and she's just enchanted by the grandeur of his palace. Everything of course has a theme of death. There's skulls everywhere, um, and whatnot, and everything is also garnished with gold, silver, platinum, gemstones of all kind, because not only is Hades the god of the dead, not the god of death, but the god of the dead, but he's also the god of all the riches that lie within the earth. So, pretty much she fell in love with the underworld, and then Hades, greeted her, and she was enchanted. Now, see, the thing about Greek myths is that um, two things are common: one, underage marriage, and two, incest. Okay, so. Uh, so
Just
like
thinking about
yeah,
it.
it's just like yeah. I mean, it's interesting like the overall, but like those things is just like, but that's how they do back in the day. But we try not to talk about it too much, whatever. Anywho, so pretty much, Hades was courting Persephone and everything, even though he's like a pretty much an old man. He's already thousands of years old by this time. Creepy as fuck. Anywho, but like, they pretty much long story short, she falls in love with them and everything. But meanwhile, while this is happening, while she's traveling through the underworld, this is going on for like, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. And of course, her mother, Demeter, is going to notice. She noticed after the first day, like, yeah, where the fuck my daughter is? And the thing about the underworld is once you cross that threshold, even if you're a deity, you're not gonna know what goes on in another deity's realm. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Zeus, you're not gonna know what's happening in the ocean in Poseidon's realm. That's Poseidon's business. You know what I'm saying? So same thing with the underworld. So Demeter's freaking the fuck out, right? Because that's her daughter, right? Her baby. And she's just like, where the fuck is she? So she is just wreaking havoc upon the earth, trying to find her daughter. And during this time, she's not carrying out her duties as a goddess. She's not, making the crops grow. She's not helping anything grow because she's trying to find her daughter. Um, and some retellings of the myths say that Zeus had a hand in giving his daughter away to um, his brother Hades and whatnot. Um,
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Do you think it's like some form of like a love potion, or like, perhaps maybe like Hades did something to her to make her fall in love?
we're going to get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
We're getting there. You're on the nail or whatever, however the fuck you say it. But yeah,
Hit the hammer on the nail or whatever.
something like
Hit
that.
head on the hammer or something like
Yeah, something with the like. So Demeter went directly to Zeus. Like, yo, where the fuck my daughter at? And Zeus was like, I don't know. This motherfucker knew. He knew where she was, but he didn't want to say shit. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how Zeus be doing. So Demeter was just like, okay, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not gonna get any more information out of you. So she's just going all across the world, all across the planet, looking for her daughter. And so then she was just like, okay, you know what? There are two deities that see everything. So I'm going to ask them. She went to Hermes, and Hermes told her, yo, I was carrying some motherfucking messages all across the motherfucking world, and it just so happened I was flying over the motherfucking meadow, and yo, I saw Persephone go into the underworld. And Demeter was like, "Bitch, you lying." And Hermes is like, "Nah, I'm being for real. She was up in the motherfucking underworld." Demeter ain't want to believe it. She went like, "No, I know good and motherfucking well. I done told her ass, stay the fuck away from that motherfucking underworld." Okay. And so Demeter ain't want to. She didn't want to believe it. She's like, "Okay, you know what? No, no. She's got to be around here somewhere. She's not in the underworld. She's a goddess of life. How could she go to some place where there's nothing but death?" So she kept on looking. She kept on looking, and she just had another thought, like, "Okay, the other deity that sees all is Helios. Now, technically, Helios isn't a god; he's a titan. Back in the olden days, like after the Great War, Helios was neutral, so he didn't take the side of the Titans or the gods. He was just like, "Okay, you know what? Y'all have your own shit. I'm gonna do my own thing," because Helios was a sun deity, the sun, the Titan of the sun. So he, along with Apollo, would carry the sun across the sky. And Demeter didn't really fuck with Apollo because Apollo was a womanizer, and Demeter wasn't fucking with that. Like, no, stay the fuck away from my daughter. The fuck. So she was like, "Yo, Helios." So Hermes said that Persephone was in the motherfucking underworld. I don't know because Hermes is also the god of tricksters and thieves. So, sometimes he be lying and shit. So yo, where the fuck you see Persephone? I know you be seeing everything and shit, all seeing eye, whatever. Fucking motherfucking Sauron up in this bitch. So what have you seen? And so Helios was like, "Yo, I don't mean to be that dude, but Hermes is right. I did see her going to the motherfucking underworld." And Demeter was like, "Bitch, yo, that's some fucked up shit. I done told her ass to stay the fuck away from the motherfucking underworld." And so of course Demeter was mad. She was mad.
Well, she should have been.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yo. She was scared as fuck. Like, what the fuck's about to happen to my daughter? Um, so eventually she went to the meadow where she last saw Persephone, where Persephone was last seen rather, and she went into the underworld, and she was searching far and wide. It's going everywhere, but she didn't know exactly where to look because I guess it was according to fate that allowed Persephone to have a clear path to where she was going. But Demeter was blinded by rage and by fear, and worry that she didn't really know where she was going. And so she was just searching far and wide all over the underworld. She looked in Erebus, the darkness surrounding the underworld. She looked in Tartarus, the deepest, bottomless pit in the underworld. She searched everywhere. The fields of Asphodel, the fields of Elysium, the fields of punishment, everywhere.
All the fields.
All the fields. All the fields. Even the Isles of the Blessed, where the heroic souls go to live in paradise and in the afterlife. She searched there. To no avail. She could not find her daughter. And it just so happened that she went out of the underworld. She came out of the underworld and she was just distraught. She couldn't find her daughter, not even in the underworld. Where could she be? So she was just tired, and she came across this field where there was this woman and her son Demophon, where Hestia she was just tired. She was just fucking tired. So the gods have a tendency to transform and to take on the guise of mortals, and one common thing like to do is transform to elderly, sickly folk. So she got her cloak and she transformed to an old woman, and she wanted to take refuge in the house of Demophon and his mother. And she was there for a couple of months and stuff, just weeping and weeping. And they didn't know how to console her, but they did their absolute best to make sure that she felt at home, gave her food, gave her clothing, gave her a place to sleep, gave her emotional support. They were really there for her.
Well, these are people in the underworld, or
no. This was when she went out of the underworld.
Oh,
She was
okay.
just like, okay, fuck this. I need to recollect. Just
because she was tired
She
of
was just so
searching.
tired.
Okay,
And
I
so
got you.
And so,
I just wanted to make sure,
right. And also like being in the realms of other deities can be draining to some other, especially if you're a goddess of fertility and life. If you're in the underworld, that's not where you need to be.
So this is like her. She's back in like the mortal realm,
Right.
and she's staying with mortals.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but she was just, Demeter was so thankful for the hospitality that she was just like, you know what? Money, I could give you guys riches, but that's not going to do you justice. So, sweet child Demophon, I'm going to make you immortal. But the thing about it is, there's many ways that deities can make um, humans immortal. Um, but Demeter thought, hey, maybe I could just put him in some fire for a little bit. And she did, like every night. After his mother went to sleep, she would just take him out because he was like a young kid, like a toddler. She would just take him out of bed and just like light a fire, just put him in there, and he would just be chilling and shit. It wouldn't hurt him. He would just be chilling, and she would be doing her magic, whatever, to make him immortal. And it just so happened that one night, his mother woke up. I guess she had a nightmare or something like that, and she discovered her kid in the fire, and she freaked the fuck out, rightfully so. I mean, your kid's in the fucking fire. What the fuck? And so, as she was freaking out, Demeter was like, okay, yep, we don't do that here. So she revealed her true divine form as the goddess Demeter. And then, Demophon's mother fell to her knees in reverence and stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, forgive me. I didn't know what was happening. And Demeter was like, okay, cool. It's like whatever. But what I'm going to need you to do, little miss, you're going to have to build a fucking temple in my name. And they did. It took them a couple of months to do so, but they did. During this time, the process of making Demophon immortal was complete, as dry as the temple was complete. So he was like a minor deity, and he became also a god of the harvest. And she gave him a stalk of wheat, a bundle of wheat to plant, so that, because there was a famine going on the planet because Demeter wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So she gave him immortality and a duty to help her carry out while she was searching for Corey.
So he would kind of like mind the shop while she was looking.
Right. So eventually she's just like, okay, well, I've searched every corner of this planet. I didn't really search the underworld that well. So I'm going to go back. Then she remembered she was friends with Hecate, right? So she went back to the underworld and she saw Hecate, and Hecate was like, oh my god, girl, what's you doing in this neck of the woods? Like, oh my god, how you doing? And like Demeter was just like, girl, the vibes are not there. I am not doing good. The fuck. And so Hecate was just like, okay, girl, come in my cave, let's talk, spill the tea. And so Demeter was like, okay, word. And they did, they caught up and everything. And Hecate was just like, okay, so look, Persephone was up in here, and she's with Hades. And sure, I know you're going to be in your feelings about that or whatever, but I was talking with the three fates. Hecate's like, I'm talking with the three fates. And the fates was just like, yo, they finna get married and shit. And Demeter was like, okay, bitch, the fuck no. You got me fucked all the way up, homie. Hell no. So Demeter was like, fuck this shit.
How come she didn't go to Hades the first time directly?
I guess she was just too mad because she was just like,
she was frantic.
She was frantic. Like, okay, she couldn't be in the palace of Hades. That's the last place I want my daughter to be.
But she wouldn't have gone to Hades for help to like find it? Or is Hades not like that?
So the Hades and the other Olympians don't have the best relationship. He's kind of like, because he's the god of death, they don't want him on Olympus. You know? So that's why he has his own kingdom in the underworld. So they don't really associate with Hades at all. But at this time, she just made a beeline for Hades. And she busted up in there and was like, yo, where my fucking daughter at? Now, we're going to pause right here because a little while before this happened, I would say about like right before Demeter went back into the underworld. And of course, it's been months and months, like almost about a year all this is happening. Persephone just fell in love with Hades. They are head over heels for each other. But Persephone was getting a bit homesick. But she didn't want to leave, and Hades didn't want her to leave either. So Hades was just like, okay, what I'm gonna do for you, I'm going to make you a garden. But mind you, nothing grows in the underworld. But Hades was very clever about it. So he made her a garden of gemstones, just like growing from the earth to replace flowers. So they were in the likeness of flowers. Because there are gem formations that just crystallize and rate out. They look like flowers, and it's pretty cool. Um, and but come to find out, even though nothing grows in the underworld, there is one thing that does grow in the underworld. Those are pomegranates, right? So Persephone was walking through this garden, marveling at it, and just like, oh my God, Hades, thank you so much. She sees this pomegranate tree, and she freaks the fuck out. This is the first living thing she's seen. She's been here, and she's just, all over this tree and everything. And she takes a pomegranate and she eats it. No one told her that if you eat anything from the underworld, no matter if you are divine or not, well, if you are of divine lineage, if you eat something from the underworld, you can't return. She could have returned and never come back, but because she ate that pomegranate seed, and many renditions of the myth say that Hades gave her the pomegranate seed on purpose, um, in order, because he knew, like, if anyone eats anything from the underworld, they can't go back to the mortal realm. But she ate the pomegranate seed, and that's right about, after that is when Demeter busted up in the underworld. Was like, yo, where my daughter at? So her and Hades was like going at it and everything. So she gets Persephone, and Persephone's like, oh no, mom, I don't want to leave. You don't know me. You don't know my life. This isn't a phase. All the little teenager stuff, whatever. And eventually she does end up returning to the mortal realm. However, because she ate of the pomegranate tree, she always has to return to the underworld. Now, this is where she gets the name Persephone. I know I keep referring to her as Persephone because that's her most common name, but her name is Kor, or Kore, or however you want to say it, which means maiden or daughter. But Persephone actually means bringer of death, because her descent into the underworld brings about the winter, the death of all the crops, everything, and the dormancy of the life and whatnot. And so that is the story of Hades and Persephone.
Now, how did she get back? Like the first time, because like the way you were framing it before sounded like once you eat it, like it's just so you go up to the door and it blocks you, it keeps you from like leaving the underworld.
Well, there was an agreement that was made.
Because of her necessity to the
right. So she has to help uphold the balance and everything. And of course, Zeus had his hand in it and everything. Like, okay, yeah, you can do whatever, and made it so that she can return and also go back, because she got in that year she got married and stuff. So got to return to her husband and shit. Whatever.
So yeah, that's interesting.
Indeed.
I'm excited to hear about the Lady in the Woods one.
Yes.
By the way, all these I think are females, so that's
pretty much.
That's a good strong start out for Greek mythology.
Hell yeah. So, Lady in the Woods. So a long time ago, there was this lady, and back in the day, they didn't. Ancient Greece didn't have Snapchat. They didn't have Instagram. Excuse me, or YouTube or anything like that. So for their free time, they went for a walk in the motherfucking woods. So after she got off work, she was just like, yo, I'm about to take a walk in these motherfucking woods. And her homegirl was like, bitch, oh my God, me too. And they did. They walked in the motherfucking woods. And all of a sudden, they got attacked by some big motherfucking cats. And she was like, oh my God, I'm getting attacked by some big motherfucking cats. And so it just so happened that she was a devotee of the god Dionysus, the son of Zeus, god of wine and the and mental states like inebriation and mental clarity as well, and also mental illness and shit like that, whatever. So she just follows up Dionysus like, yo, Dionysus, I just got attacked by some big motherfucking cats. My wig is snatched just all the way over there. My eyebrows are on the floor. Please send help. And Dionysus was like, yo, girl, I feel you. And it be like that sometimes. But I'm gonna help a bitch out. So he held out his hand from his throne upon Mount Olympus, and a white light shined down upon the woman. And the big cats fled in reverence and in fear. Wood nymphs came from the forest. They gave her a new 100% all natural wig. And they came out the woods with 100% all natural charcoal made with aloe vera. And they drew her eyebrows back on. She stood up. She dusted off her clothes and she struck a pose because she was a bad bitch. Then, all of a sudden, she began to crystallize from her feet to her knees, from her knees to her waist, from her waist to her shoulders, from her shoulders to her hair. She was a crystal pillar. Over time, this crystal pillar turned purple, the color of wine, as she was blessed by the god Dionysus, or saved rather. The woman's name was Amethyst, and this are how amethyst crystals came into creation.
Damn. That's the best one. I love that one. That one was amazing. Like, you just went full ham on that. That was amazing. That just proves like how much of a talented storyteller you are.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I've told that story a lot. Like, that's like one story. I mean, I'll tell it in my gemstone class as well. Like, whenever I do gemstone class for work or whatever, like that's one of the stories I tell in the class. Like, yo, I mean, I love telling stories, and since we learn about gemstones, you need to know how these gemstones came to be. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's, of course, that's a mythological version. Whatever,
you know, as you were telling it, it made me think of the crystal gems from like Steven Universe, like because you started talking about the hair crystalline up. Because you told me the story a long time ago,
yeah,
and I forgot all about it until like so. It's like the lady in the woods. What the fuck is that? We got to tell that one. But yeah, that's funny that it ended up being a crystal gem thing anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Hell yeah. Steven Universe for the win. Rebecca Sugar is a goddess. Yes.
Oh, man. So now we're at the creation of Medusa, which I don't think is a story that I remember being told.
Okay.
And I feel like it's not one that a lot of people know about.
Indeed.
As well, because, like, you hear the story all the time about, I can't remember his name, but he defeated Medusa by cutting her head off.
Yeah, Perseus.
Perseus.
Yeah.
But you don't really ever hear about her side of the story and how she came to be.
Right.
So, if you will,
yes, indeed,
enlighten us.
I will tell to you the story. The story happened many, many years ago, a long time ago, you see. So, there was a beautiful, just gorgeous priestess of the goddess Athena named Medusa. Her and her two sisters, Athena and Uriel, were also priestesses of the goddess Athena. And because of Medusa's purity, because all the priestesses of Athena were to be virgins. So because of her beauty and her purity and her utmost devotion to the goddess Athena, she was appointed to a secluded island temple where she is to do nothing but fast and pray her entire rest of her life in just reverence to the goddess Athena. And while she was there, while she was in the midst of prayer, the god Poseidon, the god of the sea, saw her because she was by herself and in the middle of the ocean. Poseidon in the myths, he is pretty much like Zeus, very promiscuous, very trouble causing, and oftentimes, unlike Zeus, his children turn out to be even more of an asshole than he is. Because Zeus
they're salty,
very, very, very salty, like dead sea salty, like dead ass. Okay, unlike Zeus's kids, they don't turn out to be heroes and stuff. A lot of Poseidon's children turn out to be monstrous, like
Cyclopses and
giants and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Which I like the Cyclops. That's one of my favorite mythological beings.
Yeah, they cool. But so Poseidon saw Medusa and he, approached her and she was just like, yo, what you doing? I ain't with it and everything. You salty as fuck. I don't know when was the last time you had a freshwater bath and everything. That's nasty as fuck. Well, I'm good, homie. I'm good. But Poseidon wouldn't take no for an answer, unfortunately. And she was taken advantage of. Now, this is a recurring theme in Greek myths that I don't like at all. It hurts my heart, but it happened. And of course,
like them being taken advantage of like that.
Yeah,
that's awful.
It is very, very much so. But Athena, Because, see, the thing about it is, Poseidon was way, way, way out of line. For one thing, not only did you defile a woman against her not will, the fuck, I'm sorry, against her will, but you trespassed into the temple of Athena. Athena already doesn't like Poseidon. They already have some beef, pre-existing beef before. You know what I'm saying? And usually Athena, being the war goddess, she doesn't have any problem with beef, but as long as it's served properly. And Poseidon didn't serve the beef properly. Okay. But not only did you defile her most beloved priestess, but also on the property of her fucking temple, in front of her statue, nonetheless. So Athena was not fucking happy, yo. And mind you, Athena is one powerful goddess. She's the daughter of Zeus, and she is second in command. If anything ever happened to Zeus, Athena was gonna be the queen of the gods. Okay, well, after Hera and everything. But anywho, in terms of power hierarchy, Athena's like right up there with her father Zeus. So Athena was not fucking having it. So she just, all the fucking power of every woman in history went into this backhand slap that Athena slapped the salt water out the ocean with that shit. She slapped his ass back into the fucking Mariana Trench. Okay, back to the pits, the depths of the Mediterranean.
So what? She just appeared there in front of them?
Yeah, because everything that's her domain, her temples, her devotees, she's there. Okay. Granted, I'm like, why didn't you appear sooner? This could have not happened. But she dealt with Poseidon, and Poseidon never touched one of Athena's devotees ever again. But Athena was just heartbroken by what just happened. So in order to protect Medusa, she transformed her into a Gorgon. Now, a lot of times when this story is told, they say that she slept with Poseidon on her own will, because of the fact that her sisters were also turned into Gorgons as well. So it's not just Medusa; it's also Uriel and Cthulhu, but they're different because even though they're all Gorgons, Medusa's the only one with the power to turn those who look into her eyes to stone. Cthulhu and Uriel, they can't do that, but they have wings. They have snake hair still, but they also have magical blood, where I believe it's the right side of their body is poisonous, but the left side of their body, where blood comes from, can heal any ailment and any wound. It can bring somebody back from the brink of death. So there's that, and so pretty much that's the story of Medusa. And also a little side tidbit: when Perseus killed Medusa, to bring her head to save Princess Andromeda, whenever he cut off Medusa's head, because she had slept with, was taken advantage of by Poseidon, from her body, her headless body, crawled Pegasus, the first Pegasus, who is the ancestor of all other winged horses. Because Poseidon was the creator of horses, he created horses from the troughs of, I'm sorry, not the crests of waves and whatnot. So that is the story of Medusa.
And the Pegasus, sort of, in a way.
What'd you say?
And the Pegasus, sort of, in a way.
Yes.
That's crazy. So, like, did Medusa, like, resent Athena for turning her into that?
And it depends on which version of the myth. And, like, some where she willfully slept with Poseidon, she did. Others were just like, the one that I like was where she continued to be a devotee to Athena even after she was a Gorgon. Yeah. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yes.
So we got 3 out the way. We do have a little bit of time here because I have to be at Charlie's for Shirts Off by 11:30.
Ooh, okay.
So, like, what story do you think you want to cram into, like, 28 minutes?
Okay, so what story do we have left?
We've got, so you said the creation story at the beginning.
Okay.
I know it's kind of a long one. Did you want to wait on that one?
We can. What other options do we have? I forgot.
So, You told Lady in the Woods,
Uh-huh.
Persephone, Creation, Medusa. And there was a couple we talked about. Was it the birth of Athena? That's the one that you were, or the birth of Aphrodite, Aphrodite,
Well,
whichever one was
that's
birthed from.
yeah, the birth of Athena. The birth of I can't speak. The birth of Aphrodite is also tied within the creation myth as well.
Mm.
Um, so we can go with the birth of Athena, so we can have some time. All right, so back in the day, okay, and this was like a bit like during and after the Great War. So it started like right before the Great War, where after Zeus was born and Cronus was on his throne, Mount Etna, and I think that's the name of it, or something like that. Anywho, um, there was this nymph or this minor goddess named Metis. Now, Metis was the daughter of either Oceanus or Atlas. I forgot which one. They're Titans. Oceanus and Atlas are Titans. Um, and she and Zeus had this thing going on. So, everyone knows that Zeus is married to Hera. But before he was married to Hera, he had a girlfriend, Metis. Okay? And she was very, 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 very integral to the overthrowing of Cronus. She was the one who gave him the vase of, or the jar of mustard nectar, mustard wine, that made him regurgitate Zeus's siblings, the Olympians. So after the Great War had finished and everything, Zeus and Metis were, frolicking and stuff like that. And uh, Metis was just like marveling at Zeus's ability to transform into different animals so easily. Um, Being divine, every divine creature, even if you're a nymph, if you're a satyr, well, not so much a satyr or a nymph, but deities, gods and goddesses and stuff like that, and minor demigods sometimes have the ability to transform. So Zeus is teaching her how to transform into different things, and she was having a hard time. She could only transform into small creatures and stuff, and it took her great effort to gather up the energy to transform. And so, she was practicing, and eventually she got the hang of it. She was transforming into small insects at first, and then larger insects, and then small birds and medium-sized birds, but nothing really too much larger than that. And she was just getting more so into the flow of shifting her form one after another. And Zeus was also shifting along with her. He was transforming into different sorts of birds and stuff like that. And and last and then Metis turned into a dragonfly, and Zeus turned into an eagle. And the fates say that Zeus still had too much of his father in him. He ate her. He just straight up ate her.
That was the end of her?
No, not necessarily. You see, because Metis is divine, she doesn't really die. She fades away. The same instance where Cronus ate Zeus's siblings, they didn't die. Their power began to fade as they were digested. Because Hestia was the first to be eaten, she was the last to escape, and she was nothing but a divine flame.
Became goddess of the home and hearth.
Exactly. So he ate her, and he didn't think any more about it. I guess
It was just like, oh well, that's it.
He's just like, that happened, and that's the thing that occurs. And, yeah. So that
I do that at work sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, well, that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing else we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. So Zeus goes on about his life, and he's like, well, since I guess I'm single now, I'm about to go marry my fucking sister. Yeah. So he did. But Metis was also, in a way, a goddess of mercy, kind of, because even she didn't die, of course. She provided a conscience to Zeus. She provided wisdom to Zeus, even as she was in his stomach. But it just so happened that while she was in Zeus's stomach, somehow she got pregnant. Somehow.
What else is Zeus following in?
I mean, honestly. So somehow she got pregnant, and she gave birth, and she raised her daughter within Zeus, um, forged her armor within Zeus, and taught her everything she knew, all while inside of Zeus. And one day, Zeus was just sitting on his throne, just chilling or whatever. Then all of a sudden, he gets this fucking excruciating headache, just fucking terrible headache. And see, guys don't get sick, they don't get headaches. So he's just like, what the fuck is this?
Mm.
So he's just like, yo. He goes to his son Ares, god of war, because he fights all the time. He has very, very strong body strength. So he's just like, yo, Ares, get a sword and axe. I don't care. Fucking whatever this is out of my head. I don't know what this is. So Ares tries, and he to no avail, because Zeus is too powerful. He's the king of the gods. So all of Ares' weapons just break against Zeus's head. So Zeus is like, okay, fuck this. Apollo, where are you at? I need you to shoot your solar arrows, like solar flare arrows, at my head, or something, to get this whatever this is causing me pain out of my fucking head. And Apollo did, but again, to no avail. So then he goes to his son Hephaestus. Hephaestus, the god of blacksmithing and fire and volcanoes. Um, Hephaestus is crippled because, according to another myth, whenever Hera gave birth to Hephaestus, he was so ugly that they threw him off of Mount Olympus and crippled him for the rest of his life.
Damn.
Yeah. So, therefore, Hephaestus has a lot of resentment against both of his parents. So, but he was just like, okay, yeah, whatever, I'll help you. So, because Hephaestus does nothing but sit in his volcanic forge all night and day, forging, making mechanical animals and stuff, and mechanical statues and all sorts of stuff, he summoned every ounce of his divine strength and all his resentment he had against his parents with a chisel and a hammer. And let me tell you, this force was enough to awaken every single volcano on the planet. He fucking went at it. One blow, Zeus's head. And as soon as that connected, split open Zeus's head, and out poured storm clouds, just hurricane force gale winds, and Athena in full battle armor with a battle cry and a spear and a shield in her hand busted forth through Zeus's head. And there she was. One of my favorite goddesses, Athena, goddess of knowledge, wisdom, arts and crafts, wisdom, and warfare.
Damn. Now, what happened to her mother inside of her? Inside Zeus, I mean.
She eventually faded away.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I mean, because, okay, I'm going to do this. Because so many people retell the myths in their own way, her mother reincarnated into her daughter. It was kind of like a Steven Universe situation where Rose Quartz kind of gave up her body to give birth to Steven. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with that.
I like that.
Metis reincarnated into Athena so she can live once more, and kind of got revenge on Zeus too. I'm gonna give you a badass headache, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
So how did Zeus recover from getting his head split open? Or did it just come back together?
He just healed immediately. If you're divine, you just heal. Like Prometheus, because his punishment was to be chained to a rock and be
he got healed
all day.
Yeah.
But he healed overnight,
Yeah.
only to be pecked at again and stuff.
So what? Like, they're sitting there in Hephaestus's forge, and they see this lady just pop out of Zeus's head, full battle armor, battle shields, all that and everything. Like, what was their reaction?
They're like, dude, what the fuck?
And then what? Now she's just like the goddess of knowledge and warfare?
I mean, I guess so.
Well,
I mean, I don't really know any follow-ups after that.
I was just curious because I was like, damn.
I mean,
But I mean, that's how the gods do. So
so she's a full-ass grown woman at this time. So she's just like, I'm the goddess of this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the daughter of Zeus. My mama told me the whole story, and everything. But you know what? I'm good, because the wisest thing to do is not hold any resentment. So I forgive you, Dad. And she's Zeus's first lieutenant. She is very loyal to Zeus, and she does everything she can to make sure that Olympus is kept in order.
I like that story.
Yes, I
Well,
love me some Athena.
thank you for being here.
Thank
The
you for having me.
obelisk.
Thank you.
I said it right. The obelisk.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, I was thinking
It's
obelisk, like the the Egyptian pillar thing.
Yeah.
But so we'll have you on again. Probably talk about a couple different subjects, that will work out at a later date. In the meantime, you can catch other episodes of the Creighton Station here on the YouTube and other uploads of Shirts Off podcast and Two Bros Being Schmoes as well on the YouTube. And we do go live Monday through Thursday with Shirts Off about 12 o'clock every Monday through Thursday, unless we're going to take a break or whatever. On Twitch stream, I think it's like backslash Real Charlie Boy or Charlie Boy or something like that. You guys can, Quentin will put it in the title card below, and we'll catch you guys next time on Creighton Station.